Alright guys, in today's video I'm going to be going over my playbook slash my trading model. My new trading model is really the same as the one from the previous year. I did make a video 2-3 years, like half a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, about a mechanical approach on how I'm trading. And I still have that approach, but it's like more discretionary now. And I'm still building upon it. I'm still refining it. But yeah, that's basically really it. It's what I'm sipping on today. So yeah, and I'm gonna show you guys the playbook. So let's go through it real quick. So I have a trading journal. These are all the trades for this month. I currently am up on the new combine. Recently I have multiple blue bought. Right now we're up like 1.5% right now. So we're still trying to reach that 6% profit target. We lost 2% today. But let's go over the system and what even is my system and what I'm trading. So this is my trading model right here, the Art of Trading model, my G7 trading model 1. Right now I'm just trying to stick to one trading model and really refine it. G7 trading. Let's have that right there as our main thing, just G7 trading. I do want to make one where it's like more where I'm swing trading. I do want to swing trade crypto once we start milking these prop firms and get some payouts reinvested into futures in crypto. Having some small leverage, not really too much though. That's always been the goal, really, just reinvesting the profits and making more. That's why trading and all this is like, and finance is like really all about scaling and is so scalable. But let's go over the narrative 1 hour to the daily. We can have a PD array or CRT. Confirmation is the 15 and 45 minute. Again, 2 out of 3 now. This one really just half and half. Like either we have a PD array, like a fair value up, or we have CRT. Of course, if you're in a PD array, you also want to have a draw on liquidity you're aiming for. So that's another very important thing. What is your draw on liquidity? On my 1 hour, I usually try to mark out, the buy side and the sell side objective, which I'll show you guys in the chart how I approach it, and then eventually my confirmation time frame. This is by far one of the most important. Confirmation is what usually makes my trade high quality. By far. Usually this is by far one of the most important, a CRT. And then eventually we look for a PD array, CRT, or an SMT, 2 out of 3. It could be a CRT with PD array, or it could be a CRT with SMT. By far, one of the most important things I need is a CRT. The PD array, it can fluctuate. It can be an order block, it can be a fair value gap, it can be a rejection block. It doesn't matter what PD array I use, as long as we have one. But what matters more is the CRT. If we have a CRT, confirmational, if not advanced. I usually like trading advanced too. I'm not really against it. The advanced one is like more high risk reward, I should say. The confirmation, of course, you can again, this is another thing too. You can scale, you can pyramid your position with the confirmational one opening up. Boom. A third candle opens up, you enter more. It's crazy. I won't lie to you. It's crazy. And then eventually for the entry time frame, entry is by far entry is always the easiest thing to do. Entry is by far one of the easiest. You just look for an entry model. Usually I try to have an SMT, or an external sweep, an internal sweep, and then change in the state of delivery. Changing the state of delivery can be a breaker market structure, it could be an order block, breaker block, inversion, fair value gap, doesn't matter. As long as we have an internal sweep, or if we have both, we can have an external and then an internal and then a change in the state, and that's 3 out of 4, or we can have an SMT, external and a change in the state. Either we have to have a sweep though. We have to have an internal sweep. Usually with the internal sweep, it confirms what the CRT, and if we don't have an external sweep, and we just have an internal, that's still fine. But if we have an external and not an internal sweep, usually that means we only have a PD array and an SMT, and we don't have a CRT. And those trades usually aren't the best, I won't lie to you. So let's go over the trades I've taken here on my trading, my A+ setups here on the playbook. So we go to the playbook, we go to the Hall of Fame trades, and then we got the Hall of Shame trades, F tier trades, the ones that I would not ever take again, and then my live trades with the model, and then eventually here my back tested trades. So I have back tested a lot. I'm gonna have to back test round 5 for this week. But yeah, here's some A+ trades. We're gonna go over them real quick. So any of these trades right here are live, and then the rest are back tested. So the ones with emojis are live, and then these are just the ones that are back tested, and that's why they say trade 13, trade 34, blah blah blah. So yeah. And then eventually here we have the 2 minute time frame here. We entered on the 2 minute. After 9:30, you can see we had an inversion sweep internal. And then eventually we had a breaker market structure. We had a change in the state of delivery. We entered, and this was our buy side objective. A small risk reward. Of course, you could have aimed for the standard deviation. If not, then this final buy side objective. And again, I don't know what I was doing. 5 minute time frame. We had a 5 minute change in the state. The initial entry though was off of the 2 minute change in the breaker. On the 15 minute time frame, our confirmational time frame, we had an external sweep, and then we had our buy side objective, another buy side objective, and then what was our confirmation? The 45 minute time frame, we had a 45 minute CRT, and an external sweep from London lows. So we had the London lows being swept, and then eventually we had a CRT forming. And then on the 2-hour time frame, we had an inversion fair value gap, but we also had a 12-hour CRT forming here. So we had a 12-hour CRT and we had a 12-hour buy side imbalance, and this was our narrative. So again, higher time frame narrative. What was it? It was the internal array with the CRT, the 50% being hit. Usually with a 50%, you look for a reversal, and that's kind of what we had here. And then eventually we had that reversal, usually hitting the 50%. We had the 45-minute time frame. We had an external sweep with the CRT. I'm not too sure if we had SMT. I'm not really journaling the SMTs. I recently just incorporated the SMTs. Before this, it was more of a mechanical approach. Now we're incorporating SMTs, which is pretty unfortunate, because if we had more data with SMTs, which I'm still going to have to use when I'm backtesting, I'm going to have to backtest more with SMTs, with ES and YM to build more conviction with SMTs. But if we had SMT here, I think that would have even made the trade more high probability, or we would have taken a better entry, if I'm being truly honest. If we saw NQ or ES making like higher highs, NQ making lower lows, if we saw this, we would have taken this right here a lot sooner, probably off of this fair value up. We saw like ES already breaking above these highs, NQ barely catching up. We would have taken that, or NQ manipulating while ES was not, and it was just like making higher highs. Trade number 1. Trade number 2 here. This is actually a live trade. I remember. This is August 5th. So damn, it's been such a long time trading this 4-hour time frame. Or the narrative was a 4-hour buy side imbalance, and then on the 1-hour time frame, to build upon that narrative, we had a 1-hour inversion with a 1-hour buy side imbalance, and of course we had a advanced CRT. You can see the 50% right here. We opened up the 50% and just boom, dumped after that. I guess because of it wasn't news. It was just the market opened and it started dumping. But yeah, and then on the 30-minute time frame, we had a 30-minute buy side imbalance. On the 15-minute time frame, we had 15-minute CRT. We had 15-minute CRT, and we were also sweeping external liquidity. So this is another thing. This is a PD array. Any high or old low is a PD array. So if we go to ICT, one of the core content months, month 7, what is a PD array? Old high or old low, old high or old low. And these are all the PD arrays right here. That is PD array. Old high or old low is a PD array. Don't get it twisted. PD arrays are not just fair value ups, breaker blocks, and order blocks. They are, volume imbalances, rejection blocks, old highs or old lows. So don't forget to include them. So that is a PD array. 2 out of 3 right there. Man, I miss ICT, bro. I've been recently listening to like his old Twitter spaces, his Shoguns, Shogun Saturdays. I've been listening to those, trying to work on my psychology. But I need to revisit the notes, honestly, and just review the notes and just go through the notes that I have and regurgitate the information a little bit more, because it's so nice. It's so refreshing once you start using the concepts and you start implementing in them, and you start gaining your own experience. You actually understand what he was talking about back then, because the information is clicking. It's not really clicking, but it's just it makes sense now. Back then it really didn't make sense. I was just trying to learn, and 5-minute change in state, you can see the market did retrace, and eventually it tapped up into it to then push up higher, and this was my draw on liquidity. We did have a little bit of a relative equal highs up here, which we could have targeted. That would have been a better draw. And then eventually this key high, this one never got met. And that was what clearly showing some form of SMT on, the other assets. Maybe ES or YM was not breaking above, or it was breaking above the high. Clear SMT, NQ was weak. And then eventually the market started to dump here. I remember this day though. I think there was SMT at the highs. And then eventually here we had a breaker market structure and inversion fair value gap. So the entry was a 22 model, because we swept liquidity. We went down, went up higher. We didn't sweep the internal. So we didn't have an internal, but we had an external sweep. We had a change in the state with the inversion and all that. And then eventually, and again, I'm not too sure if we did have SMT. I wasn't incorporating it, but maybe we did have SMT with this fair value gap. Maybe the other assets didn't tap up into it, or maybe they left it as a breakaway gap, but this one did tap up into it, and that was our entry. And then eventually the market moved up higher, and it tagged us for this high, and that was the win. So again, I recently just started incorporating SMT into my entries. I'm not too sure if I will continue to have it, since if the confirmational time frame aligns with the lower time frame, SMT, there's no point of trying to have it on the entry time frame. I would just rather have it on the confirmational, like the 5. But here's another trade example. So here we had the 4-hour PD array, the buy side imbalance, and then we also had a sell side imbalance. But here's kind of what distinguished that. On the 1-hour time frame, we had a 1-hour break in market structure. We also had a fair value gap, and we were inside of a range, buy side, and then sell side. The buy side was taken out. It was a shallow sweep, and then eventually we had a buy side imbalance down here, which was our confluence. Market retraced up into it, opened up higher, and then it started to push up. On the 30-minute time frame, we had a advanced 30-minute CRT with the buy side imbalance, also aligning with the 1-hour break in market structure, showing what bullish intentions, just a small correction. OTE right here, if you were entering, you had your fib low, fib high, OTE. This is your entry, deep discount. Market pushes up. On the 15-minute time frame, another advanced CRT. Again, I'm not too sure if we did have SMT or not. Maybe we didn't, but another entry could have been right here. You could have went down, scaled down to the lower time frame. We had another CRT, this high, this low. The market did sweep, close back below, and then eventually market retraced 50% entry off of the fair value gap. Maybe you look for a manipulation inside of here, then targeting the highs. The market eventually did reach this final all-time high, and it broke above it and continued to the upside. 5-minute time frame, you also had a 5-minute change in state off of that advanced CRT. So if you did enter off of the 1 minute, the 1 hour, you had this 5-minute change in state. You could have entered right here, and the market ran all the way up to target this high and this one up here. 1 minute time frame here was my entry off of the 1 minute time frame. This one again was more advanced, and again we had an external sweep along with the CRT aligning advanced. We had also a breaker form here, low, high, lower, low, and then eventually the market pushed up higher, and eventually had an inversion fair value up with a buy side imbalance form, and the market retraced, and then eventually pushed up higher. Once you see this right here candle form, the momentum is shifting, the market pushed up higher there. Here is the final trade, and this one was very recent. I won't lie to you. It was around August 21st. So on the 4-hour time frame, or you can't really see it, but on the daily time frame, we had a daily buy side imbalance. We were sweeping the lows. Everybody would classify this as a break in market structure. And then we also had a 4-hour buy side imbalance, or a sell side imbalance, which I'm mistaken is a sell side imbalance. Easy target right here. That's your draw on liquidity. On the 1-hour time frame, you also 1 hour sell side imbalance, again clear market maker buy model forming here. So you had your narrative, and then eventually you scale down from the daily to the 15, and then eventually you can see we had a 15-minute CRT forming, clear low being broken through, but again with the CRT it's tabbing into the higher time frame PDRA here. The market is manipulating, and it's showing a willingness to push up higher and continue to the upside here. And then on the 1 minute time frame, you also had that 1 minute large inversion with a balanced price range. You don't want to see the market ever come back down, because that is your manipulation. Eventually it can if it wanted to, but if we were going to be strong bullish, of course, with the SMT, which I started incorporating as of recently, you can see the market was manipulating, and this one was also manipulating. But then you can see here this one with this low, it swept this low, and then this one never really did sweep that low. You can see the market just continued to the upside at 10 o'clock right here. This one was sweeping and manipulating right here, and this one was not. It was staying intact, pushing up higher, continue to the upside, showing it's a strong asset. And even this one was a little bit more of a manipulation, because it was tapping inside of this balanced price range while this one wasn't. And then on the 1 minute time frame, you can see there was a change in the state of delivery, small inversion fair value up, which we did enter off of, and then the market did respect it, retraced once, twice, and then eventually it pushed up higher at 10 o'clock. After 10 o'clock, and eventually it was targeting this high, your clear buy side objective, and it met it pretty quickly. So this was one of the most A+ trades you can take. So yeah, that is pretty much really it for my trading model, my trading system. I'm going to continue to backtest, incorporate SMT on the lower time frames. I'm not too sure yet if I'm going to have it as one of those things I need to check off for the entry time frame, maybe leaving it for the just the confirmational one. But yeah, I need to continue to collect more data, see which one brings the best results for me and which one's more necessary to continue having those results. And that's basically really it for my playbook, what I'm looking for. I would show you the bad trades, but nobody wants to see losers or bad trades, and that's pretty much really it. So yeah.